Okay, I wanted to go over how to use photometric lights with Maya. Okay, a lot of people don't really know how to use photometric lights, and really they're the only kind of lights you should really use. So let's just start out in here. Let's just draw us a little ground plane in here, and we'll just put us like a sphere out here so we have something to cast light with. Okay, so we're going to create lights, and really the only light you really should be using is an area light, which is this one right here. So you shouldn't be using a spotlight and omni lights. You shouldn't be using these. You should be using an area light. An area light casts light like a real light will. Okay, so we're just going to pull this, and the light is coming from this pane. Okay, if we hit 7, we can kind of see the light in here, and we're just going to kind of pull it up a little bit. And then let's just rotate it a little bit down. And then if we render, we'll see something like this. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is to take this. Now, the render we're getting out of this, you'll see there's no shadow in here. And it's because by default, mental ray is not on. We want mental ray to be our default render. So we're going to go up here to Window, render editors, render settings, and we need to switch this to mental ray. Mental ray is the render we're going to use, and you're going to want to go over here to indirect lighting, and we're going to turn on global illumination and final gather right now. And so then when we render, we'll get some shadows in here. Okay, now let's go ahead and put us just a basic shader in here. So we're going to pull up our hypershade, and the only materials we shouldn't be using these default materials. I know you guys have been doing some stuff in Maya and stuff, but these Fongs and Lamberts and all these are all garbage shaders. We don't want to use these. We want to use real world shaders. So you're going to go down to mental ray and materials, and what you want to be using is this Mia material. Okay, and so if we click on that, you'll see there it is. And then we're just going to pick our grounds, and we want to apply that to it. Let's pick the sphere, and we'll apply that to it also. And now we can render, and we'll see some reflection in there now because that material is very reflective. So we can turn that down a little bit. So if we pick the material, we can go over here and we can turn down the reflection. It defaults to 0.6. Let's turn down to 0.2. Let's turn down the glossiness a little bit, and then that'll kind of give us a little bit better rendering. It's not so reflective. Okay. Now we want to be using a area light. Okay. We don't want to be using a spotlight. Let's go ahead and just delete this area light. We're going to put a spotlight in here just to show you. And pick it. Put it around back in place. Okay, so let's rotate it, pointing, and now let's render that. And what you're going to see is this real harsh shadow. Okay, and shadows aren't like that. Our shadows are soft. And the real thing is the shadow gets harder when it comes up to an object and gets softer, it goes away. And you're not going to get that with a spotlight. Okay. Now, if you happen to make a spotlight in here, you can change it to an area light. So over here where it says spotlight, I can go in here and say, okay, I want that to be an area light, and it will change it to an area light. Okay. And an area light is what we want. See how we get a soft shadow out of this? Now, it's kind of grainy because we don't have the resolution up very high, but that's more of a realistic shadow. Okay, so that's the beginning of doing good lighting in here, is using area lights, not spotlights, not omni lights, but area lights. That's what you want to use. Now, on your area lights over here, you can go down into, let's see, we can go into object display. And this will tell it where we want to see the light in our viewport or not. Okay, if we go down here to area light, then we can click on Use Light Shape, and we can actually change the shape of this. So it defaults to a rectangle, but we can make it a disc if we want to generate from a circle or a sphere. And so these are where you can get some different looks out of it. Okay, it's here. Now, the other thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that this light is a photometric light, because by default, it's not a photometric light. So in other words, it's not acting like a real world light. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our hypershade again. And we're going to go down here and click on Mental Ray Lights. Okay, and then you're going to see the Mia photometric light right here. And that's what we want to load in, is that light. Okay, so let's just viewport over a little bit here. And we're going to pick our light here. And down here at the bottom, get down. You want to get to this area down here where it says Custom Shaders, okay? And this is where we're going to put the photometric in, is in these custom shaders. So this is a custom shader that is a physical-based shader. So what it does is going to turn the lights so that they act like real-world lights. So we're just going to center click on this and drag over here and drop it on here. And then we want to add the same one into here. So these are like instances of each other. So the same thing is controlling both of these, okay? All right, so once we go into these, then you're going to see here when we render now that it's really just basically going to be black. We're not going to see anything. That's because we're using real world fall off now, and the light's not bright enough. Now, this kind of confuses people sometimes. They'll go into this intensity mode, think this is cranking up the intensity. Really, all this does is turns on whether we're going to be using candelas or a lux in here. So 0 is candela and 1 is lux. We're going to use candelas. So you leave this at 0. So this is your intensity setting right here. Okay. So let's put this like at 10 and render. And now you'll see we're starting to get some light in here. So let's kick it way up to 100. And now we're getting real world fall off to our lights. Now you got a multiplier mode in here that you can deal with too. That's just a multiplies this number. So if I put a 2 in this, then it's going to be twice as bright as what it is now. Okay. I usually have a tendency to not try to use the multiplier much. I want to be able to control my intensity through here. Okay. I'm going to, I think that light's a little close to it. So let's go ahead and just move it up a little bit further, and we can point it down a little bit and render back. And so we're using real world lights now, photometric lights with an area shadow. That's exactly what we want. Now there's still something wrong with this, which is color. Okay, this has got a normal color picker in here, and lights don't go by a normal color picker. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to load a photometric Kelvin in here. So what we're going to do is click right here, and in the window that pops up, we're going to go to Mental Ray Lights again, and the one that you want to put in here is this MIB-CIE. That is the light, and now this is going to be on a Kelvin rating, like real light bulbs. Like if you go at the hardware store and you pick up a light, if you look on the side of it, it's going to have a Kelvin rating on it. Okay, so we've shifted this now to have real world attributes, real world light, and this is where we're going to get really good lighting. Now, just so that you know with this is actually a temperature, how hot the light is, and it kind of confuses people because the hotter the light, in other words, the higher the number on this, the more blue it is. So it's the opposite of a color wheel spectrum. A hot flame is a blue light. Okay, and so if I want a cooler flame, I'm going to go down to 48,000 on this, and this will move it towards the orange part of the spectrum. Okay, so to start off, we want to start at 6,500 because that's pretty much white, and then you can tone your lights after that. So it really what we've done is taken an area light which has real world shadows. We've put a photometric in it so that the fall off acts like, the distance that the light travels is acting like real world lights. And then we're putting a CIE in here, which is giving us Kelvin ratings on our color, which is what real lights do, so that we're not putting funky lights in there. And so this is how we use photometric lights in Maya. Okay, thank you very much.